X. How did you guys do it? How did you stay out of the generational hate war?
We didn't stay out of it. It was just never an issue with us. Anybody born between like 75 and 89, you automatically started going to school with multicultures. So it was never an issue for us. White, black, and brown, we was holding it down since day one. We never looked at people at this color and stuff like that. If we didn't like somebody, it's probably because they were just an asshole. Also, social media destroyed y'all's lives. All you younger folks, it just destroyed y'all's lives. They just promote hate and racism every single day, and it's starting to divide everybody. See, we didn't have technology like that. When I was in middle school and high school, we had pagers and shit. So, I mean, you wasn't texting racist shit on that. Yeah, we had the news and stuff, but we didn't watch the news. We was kids. We was outside. We was also not raised to be pussies and offended by everything. Somebody didn't like you, your mom would be like, quit being a bitch and go find somebody else to kick it with. And we did. It was the greatest era ever. Like, we never knew so much about racism till now.
Gen X may be the most useless and annoying generation to have ever existed. How's everyone doing today? Welcome to the King Leo Show. I'm your host, King Leo. How are you guys doing? We'll get to it. We got to talk about Gen X today, everybody. Gen X, which is a generation that gets off real easy in the generational debates these days. Because they're so cool, they're so detached, they're cool. I want to argue here that Gen X may actually be worse than boomers, dude. And boomers, I can understand the boomer mind. I understand where the boomer is coming from. But Gen X, I don't see how they can be understood, which is not unusual for them, but also how they deserve any credit for anything good that has come out, because my claim, and I think I've seen a lot of people make this claim, is that they are an inconsequential generation. And when they decided to actually do something, it was all for the worse. It was all to make things worse. How are you guys doing today? Welcome to the King Leo Show. It is a finally not so chilly day in Florida. We're in the 70s. It's still too cold for me, but it's nice. It's nice. I need it back in the 90s, man. I need that 90-degree weather. That's where I thrive. How are you guys doing? You guys have good weather where you're at? Like, comment, and subscribe, please. The channel is growing significantly. We have some merch that I announced last night. I'm going to make a YouTube post about it. Incredibly cheap bracelets. What would Piers Morgan or what would a postmodernist do? Parody bracelets. Don't sue me. But today, man, and consider joining the Patreon or YouTube membership, whatever you want to do there. Today I have to talk to you fellas, to all you fellas and ladies out there about Gen X. And I have Gen X followers, man, and I'm not, when I speak in generalizations, if you're a high IQ Baudralardian like myself and like many of the fans here, you can understand that we have to generalize in order to have discussion. So I'm going to talk about Gen X as a collective as well as the other generations. I have to talk about Gen X, man, because I've seen a lot of people start to notice that Gen X is a bunch of bullshit artists, to be honest, man. Like, it is a bullshit artist generation. What was the point of Gen X existing? I'm not sure. I'm not even sure that they're sure. Who are Gen X? Gen X are people who are in the age cohort of, like, Peter Thiel, people born right before the 80s, right after the boomers and before the millennials, right? Gen X is this generation known as the latchkey kids who we can see in culture being represented in movies like The Breakfast Club. What's another stupid Gen X movie that people love? I hate The Breakfast Club. What a terrible fucking movie, dude. They love Molly Ringwald for some reason. It's ridiculous. I guess Kurt Cobain and grunge is part of Gen X culture, if that's what you're gonna call it. Look, man, Gen X right now, they're almost in their 50s. They're almost in their 60s, man. They're in their 50s. They're older than you might imagine, because when you grow up, Gen X was seen as this cool middle-aged generation. They're a lot older than you think. Peter Thiel's an old man at this point, man. He's unk status. All right, you're not boomer old, but you're old. Now, why do I have such a beef with Gen X? Well, I think we started to notice that Gen X was so pathetic when they got on Twitter and TikTok. Gen X is this generation that you'll see them post all the time, like, man, these millennials are crazy, bro. These Zoomers are crazy, dude. These boomers are lazy. When I was growing up, there was no such thing as racism. Everyone got along. Things were so good, man. It was awesome. We used to, go to Pizza Hut, watch MTV. It's literally Stacy's mom, being said by a 50-year-old man. It's ridiculous. It's insane. They love to talk about how perfect things were when they were young. And things may have been perfect when you were young. That's true. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt. Let's say things were the Breakfast Club amazing when they were young. Okay. Why do things suck now then? If things were so amazing, you could have kept them amazing. Why do they suck now? What did you do to stop things from becoming the hell that we live in? I know we've always lived in hell, as any good Baudrillardian knows, but why did you let the oven in hell go up from 350 to 400? Why did you allow that? I'm confused. A lot of Gen X cope is we were a small generation. We're one of the smallest generations to have ever existed, which is an interesting cope because it is complete bullshit. Yes, you were a small generation. That means you should have been more effective. Small generations, small groups of elites are always more effective than large groups of people. If you're a millennial or a Zoomer, man, these were larger generations than Gen X. It is very hard to find, it's a part of technology as well, but look at millennials, man. Millennials, there was no millennial leader. It's very difficult to nail a millennial leader, like someone who was the voice of that generation. It was very bifurcated, as it's part of the nature of being part of a large generation. You, on the other hand, were a small generation. You had all the advantages to you to actually do something. You were literally primed to start a political, economic, social movement that was effective. You only had to deal with boomers. That's all you had to deal with. What's another thing that's terrible about Gen X is that they love stolen valor, bro. It's like the stolen valor generation. Gen X didn't invent shit. Gen X loves to claim Silicon Valley. That was started by boomers. Okay, that was started by Steve Jobs, one of the greatest people to ever live. Okay, that was boomers. It was Bill Gates. It was boomers, smart boomers. And who really made it take off? It was millennials. It was Mark Zuckerberg. It was Jack Dorsey. Millennials, okay? I know Jack Dorsey is technically like Gen X. He's a millennial in spirit, man. Like that is a millennial man wearing earrings and having a beard in his 50s. That is a millennial, okay? Millennials and boomers built everything Gen X likes to claim. The only thing that Gen X came into technology to do is to make hell like LinkedIn, gambling websites, Palantir, and PayPal. That's all Gen X did. They came to an existing institution and built garbage on it that now we are all subjected to. Gen X did nothing. Now, politically, Gen X is interesting because Gen X has leaned Republican or lent. Leaned or lent, I don't know. A Republican their whole lives. You can look up the statistics, okay? Gen X is a generation that has consistently voted for neoliberalism, okay? They voted for Clinton, then they voted for Bush, then they voted for Trump. These are people that love neoliberalism. And I understand it because Gen X, they love to claim that they struggle, that it was a struggle, man. It was a struggle out here. My parents were not at home. It was terrible. Okay. What struggle, dude? You had the best job market since the boomers, and you were a small generation, little competition. You had all the infrastructure set up for you to succeed. All you had to do was study computer science. Buy a house in the 90s or post '08 and you're good. You had no struggle. You are the generation with zero struggle. That's why things were so perfect for you. All of your struggles are invented. It's all Breakfast Club bullshit. Mommy didn't love me enough. Daddy didn't hug me. He was busy doing coke at a party. Wow, you didn't have helicopter parents and you got cheap houses and good food and good jobs? What a tragedy. What a travesty. What an abuse of a generation. I mean, dude, this is every Gen X argument. It's all bullshit. And now that they've grown up, millennials had to grow up in 2008, 2010, 2011, all right? Zoomers had to grow up in 2020. Gen X decided to grow up in 2024. Right? Great starting point. Now that you've grown up, What are you doing? What are you producing? Are we seeing great Gen X leaders? Well, I think that if anything, the New York City mayoral race teaches us that Gen X is skipped over. No one cares about them because we went straight from boomers to a millennial in Zoran Mamdani. There is no Gen X president, nor will there be. The Gen X themselves skipped over these Republican voting Gen Xers into the J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance is a millennial. He's not even a Gen Xer. Okay, that's the call of your generation. So who are actual Gen Xers in politics? You have the hell, which is you have Ron DeSantis and Pete Buttigieg. Those are your Gen X representatives, folks. Ron DeSantis and Pete Buttigieg. Wow. What a, dude, that's the brain trust right there, right? We have a failed mayor and a failed governor as the representatives of Gen X. The only Gen Xer I'll give a pass to is Gavin Newsom, and all the Gen Xers hate him. All the Gen Xers hate. I love Gavin Newsom. I love American Psycho president. Please elect him. He's the only Gen Xer that I respect, except for my personal friends that are Gen X, which is fine, and any follower of this channel that's Gen X. Gen X, dude, you decided to grow up and abolish property taxes in Florida. That was your big calling. That's what we were waiting for the latchkey generation to do. Grow up and abolish property taxes? Or grow up and preside over one of the greatest infrastructure destructions in this country under Pete Buttigieg? I mean, dude, you guys couldn't wrestle power from the boomers, but you love to complain about them. You love to complain about millennials. You know, I really hate the millennial hate, man, because I'm not a millennial, but millennials got dealt a shit hand. And even though they did, dude, if you go to a millennial, they may be like Quirk Chungus, a little annoying, a little cringe, but millennials, dude, millennials made cool shit, man. Millennials made craft beer. They made the best coffee on the planet in history. Millennials made social media, which for better or worse has liberated a lot of people across the world. Millennials, I hate the foodie movement, but they actually put an emphasis on culture, on food. They cared about stuff. They actually did stuff, okay? Zoomers, on the other hand, like, dude, we just got screwed, all right? There's really not much that you can do. It's mostly an online generation. But Zoomers are still cool. Zoomers live cool, interesting lives compared to Gen X. Gen X, what did Gen X do? What is your cultural output? MTV and grunge music, things that will be forgotten. The only people wearing Nirvana shirts, bro, are like Gen Xers and edgy teenagers. That's it. No one else cares about them, dude. No one else cares. Your cultural output, your economic output, it was all for the negative. Nothing that you did was positive. And I'm not trying to castigate here. I do think that there is redemption that's possible, but I think it may be too late, man. I think it may be too late. Gen X can be remembered as a footnote. It won't even be. Look, people hate the boomers. All right, I have my problems with the boomers, but the boomers are a proper villain. The boomers are the Joker of generations, right? And you always respect the Joker to an extent. Because for someone to be that evil, if you want to call it, like that requires some sort of thought, some sort of planning, some sort of scheming. Gen X, dude, you're not even the Joker. You're not even Harvey Dent. What did Gen X ever do? Nothing interesting, man. Nothing interesting. And the most self-congratulatory generation to ever exist. And all they do is congratulate themselves about not caring. Well, if you don't care, why don't you just shut up? Why don't you get off social media? Because if you don't care, why would anyone else care about what you think? Why don't you go form a little Gen X club, a little Gen X group chat, and you guys can get all up in there and say some bullshit? Because I rather see boomers reposting AI slop, millennials posting like their favorite Harry Potter house, and Zoomers posting memes than you just going on social media going, when I was a kid, bro, no one was racist. It was awesome. These woke millennials don't know how to live. All right, dude, that's a completely useless addition to what everyone is doing. Like you are not adding anything of value to the conversation. Nothing of value. All you have done is doom the world by refusing responsibility. I'm sure Gen X loves Martin Luther King, which is fine. I'm a Malcolm X fan, but whatever. Like, if you like Martin Luther King, isn't it Martin Luther King? Or who was it? Was it Martin Luther King? It might have been Martin Luther King that said, when good men do not act, bad men prosper. Okay, that was either Martin Luther King or I don't know, like Quentin Tarantino. Someone said that, right? That's another horrible Gen Xer. Gen Xers just ruining movies with just disgusting films. I know there may be Tarantino fans here, man, but it's just, what do they call a burger in France? Like just mundane bullshit. Anyway, what I'm saying is that you are the people. You were supposed to protect millennials and Zoomers, the people that you make fun of so much. You were the ones that were supposed to save us from Saturn eating his son. You were supposed to protect us from the boomers, and you didn't. You didn't. You grew up with them. You knew what they were capable of, yet you didn't do anything about it. What does that say about you? What would Martin Luther King think of you, Gen X? I think he would think that you're a pathetic generation. A generation that is so self-indulgent, so boring, so fundamentally broken, and bifurcated in your mind, just destroyed, worms for brains garbage, that you're not worthy, man. You're not worthy of any semblance of power. You're not worthy. You stood by and let the world collapse. But not only that, you made sure you got your piece. You made sure you got your nut, you got your vig. You made sure that you were the generation that could loan out to millennials at exuberant rates. You're that generation. That's all you are. You're nothing more, nothing less. A generation of parasites. What was the point of you? Justify yourself, Gen X. Please explain yourself to me. Explain to me how you were beneficial for generations that came before or after. The one that really strikes me about them, man, is the stolen valor thing. They love to claim technology. You did not invent shit, man. You didn't do anything. All you invented was grunge music. That's all you did. And I really hope, because I saw a lot of millennials when I was younger that tried to cling on to the Gen X culture. You know, they tried to cling on to like these stupid Molly Ringwald movies, this 80s garbage. It's time to move on past that. That was a sign of decline. It was a sign of decline. These people, man, you know, Patrice O'Neal's famous joke, there's a reason that, you know, I'm a creep, I'm a loser. That's what Gen X sings, because that's what they were. They were creeps and losers. And they deserve it. They deserve to be seen as that. And there's a reason, there is some sort of revealed preference in them singing creep and all this stuff, man. Like, that is who they are. They are creeps and losers. Millennials, man, you guys get a hard time. You get a lot of hard times from boomers and Gen Xers and Zoomers too. But millennials, I think that you guys did some cool stuff. Zoomers, I think we've done some cool stuff. Boomers, even you guys did a lot of cool stuff. But Gen X, you didn't do shit, man. Pack it up, Unc. Time to go to the nursing home. You're just hurting the world. Thank you, Gen X, for... I guess Gen X's final blow to the world was Curtis Yarvin. Thank you for Curtis Yarvin, the guy advocating a CEO president. Thank you, Curtis Yarvin. Thank you, Gen X, for just becoming, for lack of a better word, fascist in your 50s. I thought it was a young man's game, but I guess you only became adults a couple of years ago. So that's about it. With that, everybody, appreciate you guys tuning in. Let me know in the comments what you think. You guys think Gen X, am I giving them too much of a hard time? You let me know what you think. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Watch out for the post for the merch, which is going to be pretty cool. Boomers, Zoomers, and Millennials, stay safe out there, man. Stay safe from that Gen X grime and sludge. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Like, comment, and subscribe. It takes half a second to like, half a second to subscribe. I appreciate you guys tuning in. And I will see you tonight on stream.